Yes, in the next Now, the next little bit is taken from 8mm film onto video, and it's quite old. I didn't actually work out. I think it's 1955, some of the film was taken. So you'll have to bear with us because it is poor quality. But there is, in the next section, there's a little section here of Nance, my mother, and Bomp staying at Spring Dam. And then just a little bit further on is a film that Dad took of the monthly gathering at Nana and Bomp's. So there are, I think Andrew Smith is there, and Auntie Lil and Uncle Wal and Auntie Frank, and nearly everyone's there. So here we go.
Oh,
but anyway, you can see it. But that's Bomp on the left, of course, and Mum and Spring Dam. Bomp is Anson. Is that his correct?
Very good quality.
Big pardon?
That's good quality.
That's your great-great-grandfather. Oh no, your great-grandfather, my great.
Doesn't look like Walter.
No, I've got the microphone. There's Stan. Yep, that's right. There's John. I don't know whether I'm by. Now that we stop here.
Is it you, Mum?
That's school. You have to bear with me now. Yes. 1955 fashions. That's me. Here we go. Well, stop.
That's it. No.
That's his Andrew.
Fast forward.
Uncle Wal. Auntie Lil. And Andrew.
That's my mummy.
And here's the gathering.
Could you fast
Can I pause? How do I pause? There.
That's Grandma.
There's
Can somebody do a point?
Grandma. Yes.
Yeah.
Uncle Wal.
Yeah.
I think that's Pat, is it? No, Pat's not. And that's Bob. Nana.
Who's the woman in front?
That's Auntie. I think that's me.
Well, they can really dance.
Auntie Bob.
Sorry?
There's Auntie and Pat. And Nana in the front.
Yeah, that's Mum and Dad there. Second from the right, third from the right. Can you point to that?
Yes, in the middle. Good. The one with the
That's Auntie Bob.
Yeah.
That's Uncle Stan.
There's a wall next to them. And Frank on the right.
I can see.
And Lil out there on the edge. And Lil.
Like
Me, that's Bob, that's Andrew, and that's Nana. This one is Alan someone, and I can't remember who.
Over the road, was it? In the middle next to Wall, looking down.
Yes.
Oh, there's another one driving
I
with
can
the
see
grandpa. Grandpa's the second one from the right, and that's from.
Oh, yeah, okay. I can rerun it again. I'll put it in the pink square.
That's only Pat with the dark hair.
No, it's not Dad.
Oh, that's Auntie Bob, isn't it?
Who's second from the left?
No,
That's Auntie Pat.
Oh, it is. Auntie Pat and Arthur.
Oh, is that Arthur?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh, right. Well, who is it looking down?
Where's Arthur on the left?
Who's that?
Oh, there.
Alan someone, John. I don't know his. I don't know whether his family or whether
Yes, no, he's not family. He lives down the street.
Oh,
Remember Alan?
Costello.
Yes.
Alan Costello.
Yes.
Yeah. No, he's not famous.
He was in here.
He's blanking. He's blanking out. I'll let you know I lived in that
Sheep
house
had it.
before they died.
Now, Ian, watch this thing.
Anson down the middle of it. It's still there.
Is it really?
With Anson on it, Stu.
With Anson on the screen.
Oh.
Cliff about taking it
Gone?
off.
Having a joke? Oh. And Mum. And Jill. Oh, isn't that fabulous? Now, who's that?
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
I've got an old photograph of Dad dressed up as a clown in a car.
Now, there's quite a big gap before I line up the next one, so don't talk for a few minutes. I said, all right, Anna, you want to do something else? No.
Somebody could talk.
Yeah, okay.
Will you start, Ed?
Why?
Yeah, you start.
Okay, well, I've obviously this is Shay Cunningham. Microphone. And
Should be on.
before starting off. Anyway, Ian and I have lived here for 13 years and generally in the area most of our married life, and we have 3 children. Ben, whose partner Jane has just had a baby on Cup Day last year, and I'm hoping they might turn up, so we're very excited new grandparents. And Lucy, who works in Torquay at Quicksilver and unfortunately was working today and unable to come. And Chloe, who many of you have met, who's a naturopath in Melbourne.
Hands up, Chloe.
I'm an architect and now practice from the office at the back of the house. And Ian's a surgeon at the Alfred and Cabrini. And we see our family, immediate family, quite a lot, but it's absolutely wonderful to see the rest of you. And I hope it's not so long before we see you again. And I guess one last little thing, a few years ago we bought a bit of land in central Victoria, which just north of Landsfield, where we go most weekends and have become very passionate about, and we're growing trees. We've got about 12,000 slow-growing Australian natives, local natives on at the moment, and in a very minute form. And
Well, some of them must be good enough.
And we're just, we have bought an old disused weatherboard cottage to onto our land, and we're just in the process of making that livable in at the moment. So maybe some of you might like to come and visit us in central Victoria. Thank you.
Will we
We
stick
seem
to
to
the
have got
same?
back onto the film, so is this
Are we back?
No.
Okay, well, yes, maybe if we go in families.
Yes, I'm Anne's baby
You might
sister.
look at this one.
Anne's baby sister.
I'll have a say before everyone says what I want to say.
Just in case you thought she was older than me.
We're both daughters of Dad, Graham Salter, who'll probably have a word later on. And I'm here with my second husband, Chris, who's around somewhere, Chris Moss. Yeah, that one. And my 2 sons, Walter, yeah, yay.
Timothy.
Tim at the back there, yay, raise a hand. I also have 2 beautiful stepsons who I didn't subject to this occasion today. I'm at the moment working as a medical officer at the Hawthorn Community Mental Health Centre, where I've been for 11.5 years and planning to give that up in June and find a new career, so any suggestions welcome. And my other interest is saving the world, and apart from that I do a little bit of tap dancing and this and that. So I'll now move on to Brother Robert.
Oh,
Oh, you go around, just go around the world.
I'm one, excuse me.
Well, you're in
Wendy-
charge. You do.
No, Wendy has stood for the Greens in the last 2 elections, and she has done really, really well.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully when she stands again, she might get in.
Yeah.
I just thought if we kept it in families, then people remember.
Okay.
But you're
Well, I'm in the family. Yes, well, you know who I am now, I told you. And I remember soon after I married Alice coming to one of these, and it was really quite daunting. I thought, no one could have something. I'm among fellow citizens. Apart from that, I'm retired. I'm 84, and I actually recommend retirement. Bowles Bridge, the family all in the Melbourne area, and David's near enough. He's up at Mundop, and so it's not a bad life. If the doctors would leave me alone, I mean, it's very hard to keep away from them at my age, but I'm doing pretty well.
Don't tell them everything there.
There's no fear of that. Are you anything else?
I'm Rob, and I'm the third in the family, and I've got Iona here, my daughter. Where's Iona?
Up in front of you.
All right. Great. Do you want to stand up so people can see? And I also have an older daughter, Shan, who's working today. She's just starting social work at La Trobe, and Iona's just started at Princes Hill Secondary College. We live in North Carlton, and so I've been married twice, and Helen, Iona's mother, died last year. Some of you would know that. And I'm working. I've got two jobs at the moment. I'm working for a politician in Melbourne, a member for Melbourne, and I'm also doing some lecturing at the Australian Catholic University. Okay.
And he's just got his PhD, you won't tell him.
Hooray!
Hi, I'm David. My wife Renee is here, is the week. No? And I have two kids, two wonderful children, Lauren and Ed, with a bandage on her arm, and Oscar who's running around somewhere, or outside. And I'm the baby of the family. I think I got genetically some of Alice's strongest passions, a passion for art and a passion for gardening. I've lived off art, off my love of art all my life, and for a while I was directing a regional gallery, and that's cut short by illness, and I returned to Melbourne and met Renee and had two wonderful children, and I've been invited to take up a career in lecturing. I'm now program coordinator of art and design at the Moorabbin campus of Chisholm Institute of TAFE, just down the road. So I do that full time. I live in a mud brick house in the Dandenong Ranges. I do my garden. What was a clay bed when we first went there is now looking a little bit greener, and we've got a few trees, and so that's a thrill, that's a treat. I often have conversations with Mum about how it's looking, how it's progressing. And Jerry, my life is fabulous, and it's really great to see all these wonderful people. So, who wants to go next?
Glenn?
Yes, I'm Glenn, the surviving descendant of Harry Harry Barnes Anson and Frances Emma Robertson. My wife was me, and we've been married 43 years. Yes, so and it's thanks to me that we got these family trees printed out. She's worked tirelessly on this. Every time we've got a bit of new information, she'd race around on the computer, must put that on. And I'll tell you what, I've never done so much pasting since I was in kindergarten. Pasting it all up. Anyway, when I left school, I served an apprenticeship in heavy engineering, and I got a bit sick of engineering because you're always filthy dirty and dusty with cast iron dust and everything. I went in the army for 7 years. It was first the interim army and then in the permanent army. And I was in the Survey Corps, and we went to Woollera. I was up at Woollera for 3 years, but got out just before the atom bomb went off. And I came back to Victoria for a few months and went up to New Guinea, New Britain. And I took my discharge from New Britain. So when I got back to Melbourne, started a little engineering business up with a couple of army friends, and soon had an argument. Pat husband Arthur was doing a bit of renovating at Bob's old shop in Gertrude Street. And we got together and said we'd, have a go at building. So went into building for 3 years, but that didn't last very long. I was too incompetent as far as it was concerned.
Oh.
But then Matt came down and said he wanted someone up on the farm to work shear farming for him. In the meantime, I've had 3 children, Jamie, Russell and Donald. No, we didn't have that. And anyway, we did 3 or 4 years on the farm up there. And, just before we left, we had Katie. It was a terribly hot summer. And Mac and I were putting in a fence space. Now, when Mac put in a fence space, they meant to stop. The thing was about 3 foot in diameter. And it was a boiling hot day. So he said, oh, well, we'll knock off for lunch now. So anyway, put the tools under the tree. Came back 2 hours later, the tools were in the sun for an hour or so. And we got blistered hands with a blooming crowbar and struggling around with this one. It's the first time that I've ever heard Mac say, oh, we'll give it away with nothing.
I thought you'd been an
Usually like to work till about 8 o'clock at night. Anyway, when Mac came over to the farm, I went into Nil and started in the hospital. And I worked at the hospital for 12 years there, and I was the maintenance supervisor or maintenance person. And Meg also worked at the hospital when Katie went to school, because we used to live just opposite the school, you see. It was a handy little spot. And anyway, then we bought a little house down at Road to spend our weekends. See, as we were so busy during the week, we didn't have any time to relax. And anyway, I had an argument with the management up in the hospital. He said, well, go and find yourself another job, which I did. I came down here, little knowing that Graham was supposed to do the interviewing for me at the Mount Eliza Geriatric Centre.
I was excused.
But anyway, he was busy, so another chap there. Anyway, I was there for another 12 years. I retired from there. We've never been busier. Of course, we played golf for a while, and Meg still plays on a Tuesday. I used to play Wednesday. And we've got all our clubs and president and master of the lodge and all this business. And you've got no time to scratch yourself half the time. And it's a terrible thing. You write everything down in the diary and then lose the diary. And then you've got to apologise for people coming to their meetings. Anyway, we're quite happy, and we're still down at Frankston in Fleetwood Crescent. And of course, the house and the garden have gradually fallen down around our ears, but we're still here.
And despite what Uncle Glenn says, he's very competent in the carpentry department. I remember.
The little thing's the microphone.
Yeah, I've used one of these before, but thank you, Anne. I'm James Anson, the older son of Meg and Glenn, and I have my own organisational consulting business, run with a partner. Started a couple of months ago, so it's very early days. And I'm here with my second wife, Sarah, who's just around the corner. There is a psychologist, and we have son Max here, who's only 8 months old. And my two other children, Laura, who's standing here next to me, and Michael. Michael Anson.
Show yourself, Michael.
Michael, can you stand up?
Hello.
Hello, Michael.
And I have my sister Katie sitting right next to me. So, of course, Russell, who's the second eldest, works in the United States in computer software, and he's married to Jen, his Chinese wife. So obviously he wasn't able to be here today. But I'll hand over to Katie, my sister.
What about Donald?
Oh, Don had to go.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, Don's married to Bernie. They don't have any children. They live in Frankston, and they've just, in fact, signed up for a new house in Mount Eliza.
Very close to me.
Very close to Uncle Graham.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, they had to leave a little early today, but I'll hand over to Katie. Perhaps you might like to say a bit about Don and Bernie.
I'm Katie, and I don't know what to say. Who's next?
What are you doing, Katie?
I work in hospitality, and at the moment I'm working in Smith Street in a cake shop almost, which has come sort of full circle from Grandma having the cake shop in Smith Street.
What, 89? Some number like that? What number are you working?
289.
Oh, that's
Yes.
down further.
Yep.
Well, you've done all sorts of interesting things, from hitching over to the Nullarbor to having a bookshop or something down.
Yep.
Well, isn't it?
John?
Size, eh? That's all.
The creek.
That's all the bold side, isn't it?
No, we've got Tammy.
I'm younger than Tam.
Who wants to talk to the Tammy? Sure you don't want to be older than this? You might want to talk to them.
Yes, Councillor.
That part of the family.
I'm Sue Creek, daughter of Mac and Jacqueline. Jacqueline died last year, but I'm sure she's looking down very fondly on all of us. Mac is somewhere out the back here, for those of you who haven't seen him. And in our family there's Pam down here, who's married to Graham out the back somewhere. Smith. And I'll pass it over to you to do that bit. The Smith family, Margot is round the back there somewhere. Margot, she's the youngest of the daughters, married to Paul with 4 wonderful children. And
You're going to speak, Margie, aren't you?
no, you don't get out of it that easily. And then there's Peter, who's married to another Sue, who I couldn't convince her to be a modern woman and keep her own name. So we have 2 Sue Creeks in the family, which gets very confusing and makes for very interesting emailing, amongst other things. So they're living in the States, and Pete's pursuing his absolute passion with racing driving, which I wasn't even aware he had this passion for racing driving.
Who's that?
Pete. And so he's something like national champion of, I don't know, some sporting thing. Yeah, so he's actually pursuing a lifelong passion, and very happy over there, so we get to see him not nearly enough. Dad retired about 10 years ago off the farm, and he and Mum moved into Nell, and it was about that time that Mum got Alzheimer's, and so that was a very special time for all of us. Well, I feel it was very important. It made some of us, particularly me, realise how important families are. And if I get a bit teary here, it's shown me what a wonderful dad I have, and I really didn't understand or know him at all. So thank you, Dad. He's been fabulous. I moved up to Sydney when I was about 26. Thought I was only going up there for a few months, but fell in love with the city, both its dark side and its beautiful side, and it's definitely both. I've worked most of the time up there, a few years in restaurants and nightclubs and that sort of thing. Sydney is very much that sort of scene if you come as a tourist and you want to be that way. I loved it, enjoyed it. Then I moved on into social justice for that, working for community legal centres and trying to get a fairer deal for people. I thought I was going to be a photographer for a while, but ran out of money very quickly. Had a couple of good years. I'm now working in an area that I never would have imagined I'd be working in, and absolutely adoring it. I'm working for the Australian Bureau of Statistics, collecting lending information around Australia. It's not an area I'm naturally attracted to, but the workplace is just fantastic, and it just makes me feel very, very lucky. That's enough for me. Who would like to go next?
Tammy.
Very quickly.
Just a few words. Describe your kids.
Hello, I'm Pam, the eldest of the family. I'm the only one that's still around the home area up in Mill. I married a farmer, Graham Smith, and we moved about 20 kilometres away from where I was brought up on the farm. We've since moved to Mill and we've got a sports store in there, and we've been running that for about 20 years. I've got 4 lovely children. I've got my daughter Sharon here at the moment, she's over there in the corner. And Luke, I think, out the back getting only had a glass of water at the moment if he hasn't got waylaid. He's coming in, he's the youngest. My second is Michael. Michael's married to Trudy and they have a little girl, so I'm now a grandmother. Her name's Natalia, and they couldn't make it today. And Andrew was in semi-finals of the cricket, and he's still up in Newell. He's moved out of home. And
semi-finals of what?
Semi-finals of the cricket.
Oh.
And they had their last game yesterday, but I think they might have opted out yesterday somehow. I was really thrilled when Uncle Glenn said this family reunion was going to be on, because I haven't met this side of the family for a long, long time. And it's always good to get together. It's usually at sad times and not happy times we get together. And I'm glad it's a happy time this time.
Yeah.
Tammy, Margie, will you just say a few words?
Hi, I'm Margot, and I'm the baby sister of Jacqueline and Matt. I suppose my I was born up in Mill and I had most of my schooling in Mill and had 1 year down at Toorak College where the Salter girls went and Cam and Sue went for most of their schooling time. And then I came down to Melbourne and went to college down here, to the Melbourne College Decoration, and then met my husband Paul, and as soon as we were married in 1981, we moved over to Perth and were there for about 14 years, and then but we started having children and they kept coming and coming and coming. Only 4, but they came very quickly, so we had the 4 in about 4 3/4 years. And we have Rebecca and Ruth, and Ben is here somewhere, I think. Josh is working today. Show yourselves around here, girls. So we lived in Perth for that time. Then Paul got a move to Kalgoorlie, so we went out to Kalgoorlie and lived there for 2 years. From there we went to Brisbane. We had 3 years up in Brisbane, and then we thought it was about time to come down and do the family thing down here, because our children really hadn't got into the family scene, and that was very important for me when I was growing up, especially the Anson, Jamie Anson and that side, Uncle Glenn's children, and the Salter side were very important to us as we were growing up. And yes, I remember very fond memories of the family reunions we used to have, and how special they all seemed to be, and it was just lovely to get the big gatherings around and all that beautiful food that obviously still happens, which is great. yeah, so after Brisbane, we came to Melbourne, and we've been here for just on 2 years, and the children are settling into the Melbourne scene now. And where to after that, I'm not sure, but enjoying it here, and it's just great to be here. And thanks, Annie and Ian, for today. It's wonderful.
Graham and Anne, thank you for the use of your house today. I think I'm the only one that's spoken on the green side so far. That's right. My name is Peter Fox. My great-grandmother was Emily Anson, and my grandmother was Muriel Hipwell. That may help you. I'm not very good with this. My wife is out there.
Join the clan.
Not very good at it. I have my auntie Dorothy over there. A lot of you may know her. My sister Judith is out there with her husband Fred. I have a brother Bruce. I have a brother Ivan who died last year. A brother Bruce who lives in the UK. We don't want him out here, otherwise he's got to have his feet scraped at the moment. And he's due next month. So I have 3 sons on there, Adam, Nicholas and Simon. They're 33, 31, 28. And what I used to do, I'm retired now, but I spent over 45 years in art materials, selling and importing into Australia for 2 companies in that time. And my hobbies are, now retired, I teach migrants for the federal government. I teach them English from the Middle East and from Asia. And I also teach roller skating to the young people and some people up to the age of about 40 at the Caribbean Gardens. While I was working, travelling in Asia, I did short track ice speed skating in Hong Kong, Macau, and also did competition here and gave demonstrations to mainly children in Hong Kong in that sport. So now I'm retired, I've got those 2 things, so I'm busy. All right, that's all.
Over here.
Well, I'm over Auntie Doctor, and I must be the oldest inhabitant here, I think.
No,
No.
I beat you by 2 years.
I'll be 83 in May.
I'll be 85 in...
Oh, right. Well, that's the 2 of us. I'm the youngest child of Muriel Anson and Harold Hipwell, and Mother Muriel was the youngest daughter of Henry and Emily Anson, and that is why I've got all the family history in my mind, because more or less in my heart, things my mother used to tell me about her father and their life at Semaphore, although she was only 13 when he died. They all loved him very much. So I've had great pleasure in compiling these notes. They're only a brief history, there's a lot more, and a lot of it is from Jill and Lou, of course, who spent 12 months in England looking up the Anson family history, being prodded by Jill and Barney with bits of information. And also Alice Salter. I'll be close as well. Well, Alice Salter, of course, had the wonderful family album, and she was very generous with it, and she did wonderful photos, which are in an album out in the hall, from Henry's album with articles stuck in from the newspapers of the day, and I've copied those into those notes too. So I hope you'll enjoy those. And the lovely picture of Anne had in the front of each folder. Ross and Peter took the photograph from the original painting in my hall, and his son Adam did the first scanning of it, I suppose.
is that the right word, Peter, you said? And I'm learning really, and trying to be updated with all the computer terms and things. And then Jeff Hipwell did, the ones that are from that one, did the lovely picture in the folders, one folder for each family, and you can get copies from that family master copy if you wish. But I do hope you can all have a quick look at them. 3 nephews and a niece here today, and a lot of apologies from all the Hipwell boys and gang in Queensland and so on, and Thursday Island, and my own daughters Marigold and Rosamond. Ros rang today, sent her good wishes to everybody, and Marigold's been emailing madly, doing lovely photographs of her family treasures from the Anson family, and they're in a small album over there. They're worth looking at. They're beautiful, really, just Emily's treasures. And I think that's about all, except that I do feel so grateful to Anne and Ian for opening their home. It's wonderful. And for Margaret and Glenn, I have never known such patience from anyone as they worked over that tree, with me ringing up and altering things every second day. Because my lot didn't answer my original Christmas letter, and I had to chase them up. And then they all got very enthusiastic and sent different versions of the family. It was dreadful. So it's lovely to look around. If I look over at Jo, she's the image of her mother, just when her mother was her age, and so much family likeness everywhere. It's incredible. It's just lovely. So I've had enough time now. Who's next? Any other Hipwells or any of your lot want to talk?
Yes. Where's Rob?
Well, there he is.
There he is.
Oh,
I'm Ron Hipwell, the eldest of Dad clan. Dad was married twice. I was the eldest, and Brian, another one whose apology he couldn't get here. And then there's Jeff, Kay, John and James and Julian. So we've all sort of kept fairly close together, but at the moment they're scattered all over the countryside. But I came to Dramana from Broken Hill in 1942, and I've been there ever since. Can't get out of the place. But I went to school there, and used to do a bit of cinematograph operating at night, and then I worked in Melbourne, because Grandma Hipwell said it wasn't good enough to be a mechanic, I had to be an electrician. So I went and worked for a lot of Jane Nilsson's for 18 months, and then Father decided he opened up an electrical shop. So I couldn't get back to Dramana quick enough. So I've been an electrician ever since, and contracting at Dramana, and very much involved with the CFA. I was in it in 1946, but they didn't discover till 52 I wasn't registered. So I'm now sort of life member of the brigade, of the CFA, and the football club, and all those things down there. And also they gave me a national medal last year. So I don't know what else I can say. It's just Bruce can say something else. And apology for my son, he's in Perth and couldn't come.
Thanks, Ron. My name's Jeff. As Ron's just pointed out, our section of this tree is about 18 inches of it, this end, of the 7 feet. So we've been fairly prolific. My father, Ronald Anson, married married Frida rather, generations mixed. My father, Ronald Anson Hipwell, married Frida Gertrude Aldridge. And there were 5 children. Well, there were two previous children, Ron and Brian from my father's first marriage, and then the rest of us. So I was the eldest of the second batch. So basically, I think Ron's pointed out most of the chronology there. I think I've just got a list here of the number. if my parents were still alive today, they would probably have 20 grandchildren and 12 great-grandchildren. So that's quite a few. The only other thing I was going to say was that I remember Muriel. We used to call her Little Grandma because we had a big grandma as well on the other side of the family. And I guess my memories of her, I don't know how many of you remember Muriel. Yeah, she was a bit of a wag.
Oh, she was.
Wasn't she?
She was.
Yeah, that's probably putting it mildly. But she had endless stories, and she could put on a little show, impromptu show.
Quite an artist.
Yes.
She'd do a little dance for you too, Doffy, wouldn't she?
Yeah, she used to speak out the side of the mouth. She'd carry on two conversations. Remember that?
Possibly.
She had this little dialogue. How much are them cherries a pound? She used to say, and then someone else would say, sixpence. How much? And she'd carry on these conversations. But she'd keep us enthralled for hours.
Yes, she was entertaining, all right.
Yes. So
I could tell a story about Doffy with going out with a boyfriend. Just a minute, keep going.
Yeah, so just to remind you of some of the ancestry, and I can see some of that development has come down through the generations in some of the children that carried it on a bit.
Yes, she was.
So
I'd say she would have been the funniest of all the aunts and all her sisters and brothers. She had the big sense of humour, I'd say.
Yeah.
Is that right, Doffy? Yeah.
She used to tell the odd fib too, I believe. Yeah. Anyway, just to cut a long story short, I'm the eldest of the second group of Ron and Frida, and I've got 3 children and 1 grandchild now, and I've retired, of course, but I've been in the computer industry. But it's interesting, Ron's in the electrical, has always been in the electrical industry. I have been also in computers and electronics, and of course our father was an electrician, and yes, and Harold Herbert, he used to wire up I think he put the electricity through the Genolan caves, didn't he?
Not the Genolan.
We spent part of our honeymoon there.
Is that right?
No,
Yellingham caves. So he was an electrician. So we come from a long, and I think it goes back even further, a long line of electrical sort of people. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a bit of the story of the middle side anyway, this bottom left-hand corner. And I might just put the microphone over to Penny because she's got a green badge, but she's also got a little bit of orange on the badge. We didn't know this before we met, but the 2 families met.
We didn't know this before we were married. My mother was a salter, and my mother and Jeff, and Graham rather, are first cousins. So, what does that work out as? Anyway, so there's a connection there, and Jeff's second cousin once removed was Alice Anson, married Graham, so that's where the connection is, if you can work it out. I can hardly work it out myself, but anyway, it's there. Yeah. Okay.
Anyone else from the green side?
The green
Seeing with such a small family, I hope you don't mind, but I did mean to mention my granddaughter Anastasia, only granddaughter, 29, and she's doing her 4th year honours in university in art. And my grandson in Adelaide, 21, only grandson, had his 21st birthday party this month, and I missed it. I was packed to go, and the doctor wouldn't let me go. I caught that flu flu virus and with the terrible throat, and then back to Sydney now. Anastasia has a dear little boy who's 9, Gabriel. So I just feel I've joined them in the company now.
Talk into this one. Oh, right. Well, I was born in 1926, and I was born in Mortlake, and my parents divorced, and I went to live with Grandpa, A.W. Anson, chemist, 164 Gertrude Street, Fitzroy. I was there until I was about 16, Mother and I, with the family, Nance and Geraldine and Uncle Stan popping in occasionally, and Uncle Wall and family living with us in the Depression times, which the house was fairly crowded. We had a lot of rooms, but Glenn and all that family were upstairs in one huge room when they came over from Adelaide, and we were in others. Just as well they had a big place and so forth, but that was Depression days, and you young people do not understand the word depression, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, we do.
You probably learned at school,
Thank
but to
goodness for that.
experience it was, especially living in Fitzroy, we were okay, we were fed and so forth, but you saw a lot of things that live with you all your life as well. And yes, very educational. Yes, so that part of my life. Then I went into the WAF, and I had a great time with the Anson family, Jacqueline, Glenn and Alice. I sort of grew up with them. They lived not far away, they moved not far away, and we were very firm friends. They were my sisters and brothers, as I didn't have any. And I went into the Air Force, and after the Air Force, Doffy was in the Air Force too. We were both signallers, telegraphists in the Air Force. And Doffy, we used to have these reunion at Nan and Bob's place when they moved to Meetung Street. And if Doffy wasn't there, we'd miss her because she was one of the family that lived close enough to be able to come. It used to be about once a month, and Auntie Frank used to bring scones. We'd miss the scones if Auntie Frank didn't come. And everybody brought a plate like today, like a family day today. And it did keep the family together. John Anson and they lived just up the street, and so that was great for Nana and Bob that had Uncle Stan was absolutely marvellous to them because he was close by, and Auntie Vi of course too. And so anyway, in that time I did get married, and I'm stuck up here somewhere, and I had three wonderful children. Two of them are here today. Ross is in Sydney on business at the moment, but I'd very much like to hand over to Andrew to tell about his family, and then Helen, if you'll. But it's been a wonderful day today, and I think it's absolutely wonderful of Anne and Ian to have us here, and Glenn for doing what he did. I keep saying to him on the phone, "You're marvellous, Glenn." He said, "I'm enjoying it. It's okay, I'm enjoying it." But I do think what with Anne and the Salter family arranging all this, it's just been wonderful. And the little cheeky thing about Auntie Muriel, when you were courting, she used to peek, try and get to remember. She tried to catch you all the time, whether you were kissing goodnight. I know that story from my mother. Anyway, and welcome to all the Hipwells too, because Auntie Muriel was a joy to be with, and she was. I remember her taking me to the beach, and I was staying with you and Auntie Muriel in St Kilda, and I didn't take my bathing costume. Remember the white old singlets? She did it up in the middle, and there was our girl about 9, going down the beach. We walked all the way down from St Kilda Junction down the beach in a white singlet of Auntie Muriel's singlet, I think it was. She said, "That looks all right." If Auntie Muriel told me that, I thought, "Oh, well, I suppose so. Not what I usually wear." Anyway, that's it. This is my son, Andrew.
Thank you. I guess I don't need to
saying I was born very young because he noticed on the video I was maybe 2 or 3, I think. And in the spirit of Relations Day, I want to turn this into Relations Week. I'm nearly 50 years of age. I have my son with me here today. Freddie, would you mind standing up? No. Freddie's 15. I've been married 27 years. Cheryl can't make it today. I've been in the IT industry now for a number of years, about 30 odd years or so. Really enjoying it as a sport, a career and a hobby. Interested in aviation and interested about handing this microphone across to Helen.
I'm the youngest in Arthur's children. For those people that knew Dad, he actually died 5 years ago last month. So, yeah, that was something great. I'm here today with Greg and my 2 sons, Campbell, who's 13, and Oliver. Stand up. And I'm a teacher and I love it, and at the moment I haven't really got time to develop hobbies. Our hobbies are watching our children play sport, and Greg coaches the team and I'm a cheer person. So we basketball, baseball, triathlon, swimming, they're into it. So, and we love doing that. Anyway, I'm going to pass this over to either Joe or
John.
Well, I'm John Anson, the only son of Stan and Vi, and my father was born in Mortlake, and my mother was born in Dunkeld, so they're old. I didn't realise you were born in Mortlake, Pat. But
Yeah,
there you are.
They're all that era.
My dad was a Coles manager, so my life was spent moving from one school to another. We went from Warrnambool and Bendigo and Colac and Adelaide. And I came back from Adelaide, I went to Pulteney Grammar. Pulteney Grammar's blazer with white and black stripes. And I visited 164 Gertrude Street in Fitzroy, that tough old area just right on the edge of Collingwood. I went down to the Fitzroy Junction Street Oval. I still barrack for Fitzroy. I refuse to believe they've gone. And wore the old Collingwood, the old Pulteney blazer. I just about got thrown over the old brick wall at the end, if you remember that brick wall. When Nana and Bob moved out to Meetham Street at number 6, we were living in 64. So we saw a lot of them there. And these family gatherings, like you've got here, we used to have regularly every week. They were either at our place or down at Frank and Walls, or they were at Patty and Arthur's. So they were a great time. We always kept together, and every week they were in fact on. So we missed those. When Nana and Bob died, I was married then to the first wife, Wendy, and we bought our first home was their old house, number 6, which we promptly engaged Arthur, who was a builder at that time, to double the size of the damn place. There was only 1 bedroom, so we 1 bedroom, a bathroom, and a lounge and a kitchen, and that was it. So we doubled the size of that, and we lived there for quite a time. We had four children, 2 boys, 2 girls. We went up to Sydney. Wendy, my first wife, passed on, and I married my lovely wife, Joanne, who's sitting outside in the blue there. Right? I was with Maya for some 35 years. Went from Melbourne to Sydney with Maya. So we had 4 children. Mark, the eldest, who was a policeman in Katoomba, and he has 2 lovely children. Married to Alana, who is also a police woman. Stephen, who is with an RSL Leagues Club in Sydney. He's married to Fiona and has a young son, William, who runs around saying, "Have you seen my daddy?"
Where is my daddy? They were with us at Christmas time. We have eldest daughter is Carol. She's married to Barry, and they have 3 children. They're living in Canberra. Barry's with ANU. And Helen is our youngest, who when Joe and I married, we left New South Wales and went across to Perth. She came with us and went to school there at St Hilda's, while we left the other 3 to wreak all sorts of mayhem back at the family home in Sydney. Carol's married now, and she's just produced her first young son, Matthew, with 1 T. We can't buy anything with the name Matthew on it, it's got 2 T's in it. So she would go ahead with the 1 T. So that's our 4. And we're over in Western Australia, which is a lovely spot to live. And it's great to be here today and see so many of the relatives. It's just a pity that we're so far away and all the rest of our kids are spread all over the length and breadth of Australia. And thanks to Anne and Dean for having us here today.
Well, my name's Ian Cohen. I thought I'd actually escaped being persecuted like this, but anyway, now that I've grabbed the microphone, you'll have to listen to my story, won't you? Anyway, I'm the son of Alan and Jill, or Geraldine Alice Anson, who was the second last daughter of Anson, W. Anson, and Letitia Reid, wasn't it? Yes, I think that's right, otherwise known as Nana and Bon. And I'm married to the wonderful and delightful Susan there, who's made herself known to you, and she's kept me under control now for what is it, over 33 years, and done a wonderful job there. And we've had 3 children, Matthew, our eldest, Lucy, and Nicholas. Matthew has a young son called Reuben. He's just a little over a year old now. Unfortunately, Matthew can't be here today. Lucy is married to Dean, and she's in the European Alps skiing at the moment, much to our jealous regard, or at least Susie's a bit of a skier, so she wishes she was there, but they'll be back shortly, so they can't be here. And Nicholas, our youngest, is married to Marianne, and they're living in Amsterdam now, and they have 2 children. One of them, Sam, who has been out here this time last year, and Jessie, who was born in November. So we haven't seen Jessie yet, but maybe we'll get over there sometime and say hello. And Sam, their eldest, I'm sure he thinks that Grandpa and Grandma are actually telephones. Nick says, here's Grandpa and Grandma, and hands him the telephones. Anyway, maybe we'll sort that out one of these days anyway. As to what I'm doing, I've been in the aviation industry quite a long time, and I'm now working as a manager in a consulting engineering company engaged in keeping the military's older aircraft going. So that's about my story. Now I'll give it over to Wendy, and she can inflict this on some other poor unfortunate people. Thank you very much to Anne and Ian and Glenn and Beck for organising this. It's been very fantastic.
My name's Geraldine Serini, usually known as Jo. I'm daughter of Nancy and Ken Thompson. Nancy Anson, she was, the youngest of Walter and Letitia. I was born in 1940, I think, and I lived on a property at Springdam. Some people will know. A beautiful property. Yeah. Did Water ski. Oh, right.
And we got a budgie from there.
Did you? Oh, that reminds me that we taught the budgie to say, I'm free to
Right.
And did it ever say, mother's drunk and father's not at home? Or anyway, I'll get on with it. I was a teacher. I'm now retired. And I have a little project at the moment of writing and illustrating children's books, so just as a hobby. We have 3 children. I'm married to Gavin. Where is he? Gavin's here. Oh, Gavin is hiding. I was wondering where he was. We've been married for 35 years. We have 3 children. Jane, the oldest. Nicola, our second. And Andrew behind the camera. And they can have a turn and explain, well, Jane can't, but she's married to a Japanese man and has been living in Japan for 10 years this year. And she works with a company, Red Sheriff. It's a new an internet company that she's just begun work with. They live in Yokohama. Oh, what else have I got to say? Perhaps that's enough. Oh, well, I was going to let them say for themselves, but I'll mention Nicola is a textile designer and she has a studio in Flinders Lane in Melbourne. And how long have you been doing it for, Nick? 7 years. Okay. And Andrew's been living in Japan for 2.5 years, and he came home for 1 year to do postgraduate study, and he's about to go back to Japan to hone his Japanese speaking skills. So I'll leave it at that and let the others speak for themselves. Who is it? Jeff. Jeff? Boy, you've had to wait.
Obviously I must be the youngest here, hanging at the end of the line. But, it's a bit hard to follow everyone else who've done it so ably. I would just like my parents, my mother was Nancy and my father was Ken Thompson. When I first left school and I started about there, I went home on the family farm for some 9 years, and around about 1971 we had a change of direction. Dad and Mum retired to Geelong. I left the farm and I was married to Libby over here in Cuba, and we settled in Melbourne. I had a number of jobs over a period, but my latest stint has been making domestic security doors for the last 24 years and also installing handrails and aids for disabled people, which I do currently. We both have 2 boys. Robert is our eldest. He's currently couldn't be here today, but he's in California at the moment, starting a new job for Silicon Valley, just for a stint of 3 months. And my other son, James, here, sitting down, the orange shirt, he's currently finishing up a course at Northern College of TAFE. I don't know what else is of interest and who I can hand the microphone to.
Who haven't we? We've missed out on most of the spouses.
A couple more things that I always forget. Libby currently works as a physiotherapist at Bethlehem Hospital in Caulfield. And lastly but not least, I'd like to thank Ian and Anne very much for opening their house to us all.
Now we have left out most of the spouses. Not sure whether they were happy they came today or not. It's been probably quite an education. And also many of the younger generation. And I encourage...
The guys out there.
Well, I have been round the guys out there and they're very reluctant to say something. Would someone like to say anything?
Yeah.
Our future.
Okay, I'm Nicola Serini. I'm the daughter of Joe and Gavin. And as Mum mentioned, I have an older sister, Jane, who lives in Japan. She's married to a Japanese man and has been there for 10 years. she's just started a job in the IT area after teaching English and doing various things, including learning to speak Japanese, which is a big obsession, it seems, with our family. My brother over here holding the camera, Andrew, is younger, and he's been living in Japan as well and learning to speak and read and write Japanese, which is quite amazing. And my obsession with Japan is the design side of it, which influences my textile work. This is one of my bags. I run my own business called Nicholas Serini Australia, and I print fabric and make this range of handbags, which I sell to shops all over Australia and more recently in Hong Kong and a couple of other places. What else can I say? Maybe I should put it. I'm going to give Andrew a go. I'll film for you. Is it on?
Yep, it's on. Yeah, so I'm Andrew Serini. You already know where I am in the family. I was in a band for several years after high school when I was studying. I studied cinema studies, hence the camera. That's just a hobby of mine. And after that, I went to Japan. Spent a couple of years there teaching English, a year and a half in Tokyo and 10 months in Nagoya. And came back last year, as Mum said, to study Japanese at Monash Uni. First time I studied it formally, I was just there. I was originally not going there to learn Japanese, just to teach English and then move on, but became more interested, so planning to go back. Yeah. At the moment, yeah, I'm just studying to teach English as a second language, just a proper course before I go back. And also interested in things environmental, so that's about it. Okay.
Actually, it's really interesting that the two threads coming through everyone speaks today, the environmental and the IT. It's quite extraordinary, it's very strong, so many involved in the IT area and the environmental area. My son, well, is there anyone else, maybe, who'd like to have a word?
I just want to say on behalf of all of us, thank you for Anne and Ian. And there is a card going around for people to sign. I just don't know where, oh, Meg's got it over there. So will you sign that before you go? And as a small token of our appreciation. And where's Ian? Where is he? I don't mind if you swap. Well, thanks very much, it's been great.
Oh, thank you, really. There's no need to do that. It is our pleasure to do this. So, after all, you've bought all the food. This is absolutely fantastic. And you're not allowed out the door until you've eaten it. I'm on an endless diet. And just as a final finale, Ben's just going to have a quick word. Ben and Harrison, the youngest member of our family,
Make sure
and
Harrison
then you
doesn't
can
work
relax.
too.
Okay. After the end, thank you. Just sort of an epilogue, I guess. I remember so I'm son of Anne, daughter of Alice, who was daughter of Walter and Francis. I think the thing about Anson I remember most was Francis and Walter being my great grandparents. I had great grandparents that I remembered, so that was very impressive. Certainly not a lot of my friends did, but I think Anson stuck in my mind when I was told that Walter Anson was able to name a few streets after the family in Brighton. Is that right? Wrong side. Yes.
Yeah,
No.
that's
Rubbersville. Salter. Okay. Well, I think we should have stopped at Glen. Welcome all and eat.
Okay, relax.
lovely today.
I meant to say that this is
Jane's wedding, and all the ceremony was planned, and that she was the black wig, and they made her up in Japanese. I just put it in because I thought people might be interested. See there, Anson. You're on. It is, yes. When did you come from Perth, John?
Perth.
Today or?
I came on Thursday.
Right.
I'm up in law and been to the football and
The Grand Prix?
It's a lovely day, isn't it?
Photos and everything are most interesting. And when did you?
It's lovely. I don't think you gave me all the film. I've got the copy business. You had a bit extra put on, I think.
No, it's all the same, Pat. And when did you come down? Thursday, and you. Oh, right. Great.
So we're happy to see you up there again, sir.
We'd love to.
You say you thought you liked our way.
We might be sometime soon. We'll let you know.
Yes, please do.
Land on your doorstep sometime, and you'll be surprised. Okay. No. Now, where have you come from, Dorothy? Beg your pardon? Ashburton today. Right. And you're really the matriarch of the family these days. You were born what year? 1918. Ah. Oh, goodness, that's wonderful. Yes, yes.
30 pages or something. So you're going home now? We're going to stay. You don't want to leave this wonderful reunion.
Margot, you're on film. Hi. Okay, Mac. You're on camera. Mac's from Neil, and he came down a couple of days ago and is staying with Margot. Ah.
Was free.
Libby Thompson at the reunion, the Anson reunion. John Anson and Jeff Thompson. Wendy! Okay. Graham? Hi.
Are you doing a movie?
I am, yes. Very good. Sue and Ian and Glenn and Meg, the son. You all did extremely well with your speeches. Yes? Beg your pardon? Yes. Go on, you're on.
We want a copy of this too.
Oh gosh.
Probably be shown in another 50 years, an old, transferred from the old technology into this latest thing.
There's an old one. There's an old one. Gee, really?
Raise the free zones.
We're still at the family reunion and people are just gradually packing up and about to leave.
There's another one I see.
Pam Creek. Jacqueline and Mac's daughter. And Robert doing the domestic duties.
Sorry, I'll just squeeze past you.
Right. Ah, and Wendy, I've got you on camera now.
Can't hear you very well.
I'm sorry, I'm muttering. Just said I had you on camera.
What happens if you're that close?
Ah, well, we see every detail. Much activity with the photographs and the history. Glenn and Pat busy looking at photographs. And Dorothy. Oh yes. And Pam. And Ian ducking. It's the fan upstairs, eh?
What is it?
The fan in the bathroom upstairs, they tell me. Yes. Oh, perhaps it isn't. Oh. No, I've just learned how to do it.
Perhaps if you learn how to zoom it, you could get close-ups
Yes.
without having to be close-ups.
Yes, I could.
So do you think you might go back to work at some stage? Sure.
Did that?
Pardon me.
Oh, sorry.
Just for now.
It turned out that in the next morning, I just got to work and the girl, one of the girls, ring your husband at Thursday. And I rang and said, oh, Helen's on the flying off with some birthday. And she was 5 hours on the plane to go because he couldn't. And they thought that we had to have a class. Anyway, they got him down there and he got there at the same time as the ambulance. She was there. Him in his 50 cents.
So she's just had a season.
She's had a season. And so he was born, you know, he's just been born and it's like a film. Up the back passage into the...
So they've actually just had to surgically...
Now she has...
So this goes under the street, doesn't it?
This is Nicola's exhibition, part of the Spencer Street exhibition. And now Nicola will appear. There's Gavin. Come on, Nicola, come in. Hi. This is the year 2001. Do you want to say something about the exhibition, Nick?
Well, it's an exhibition about handbags.
Where did the inspiration come from?
It came from a Japanese
Very good. I'll... Can you tell me a little more about the construction of the bag?
The bag is printed on a shot silk dupion, and it's a 2-colour print on the shot silk, and it has vinyl panels inside and a lining, and the way that it fits together with the strap actually goes through the gold loops and pulls it both sides together.
Ah.
So you need to put the strap down to open it up.
Very good.
And there's polyesters, banana fibre, shot silk, dupions, and I think that's about all. So that's it.
Very good. How long is the exhibition here for?